Doing this right. Hey, Gray.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Good
Well, good
morning.
morning.
Good morning for you. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. It's 5:30 where I am right now, and in about an hour I will start the meditation session. I'm in India, and I'm doing this intensive traditional hatha yoga immersive type of training in an ashram. So 2020 is the year of all, the challenges for me.
That's crazy. I'm so really thankful that you woke up well, so I wake up at 4 to go to work, but not I won't be waking up an extra 30 minutes early to do an interview.
No, really, it's my pleasure, girl. I love what you're doing. I love your blog. I love your Instagram feed. And I feel very, very grateful that you reached out to me so I can share my story with you. So really, thank you. It's really worth it.
Yeah. Well, I'm really, really appreciative. Going to give people a couple of minutes to log in, and then we can
No worries.
get started. Oh, goodness.
For sure, for sure.
I was like,
So
oh.
how are you feeling? Because I saw in your stories that you haven't been feeling that hot lately. How are
Yes.
you?
Well, yesterday, I don't know what happened. I just started to feel the symptoms of a migraine coming on, and I came home and I laid down, but I still, woke up this morning still feeling kind of off. So I came home and I basically repeated and did the same thing, and I'm one of those people with migraines. I have to be basically a popsicle, and it kind of helps me level out. So I turned off the heat in my house and made it as cold as possible, and
Girl.
and that really kind of helped me. But then I just started hearing this ringing in my ears. So I was like, am I having a ear infection or something? So I'm not sure. I have doctor's appointments tomorrow, so.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, winter is kind of the worst season, right? When you're a kid, you like it, and then you get sick, you grow old, and you're like, I can do another winter.
Oh, no,
That's
no,
why I'm in India right now.
I
I'd rather
absolutely
face this intensive training than winter in Europe. I'm done with that.
really. How is the winter there?
Oh God, like it's climate change everywhere, right?
Uh-huh.
So it goes from, okay, today is very sunny and hot to today it's so cold you can't even get out of bed. So it's really fluctuating like that. In France, I live in France. We had two type of, I don't know, big storm coming in and out of Europe lately. So yeah, I'm good here. I'm good here. I love it here. Temperatures are always the same. It's never too hot, never too cold. I'm good.
I'll have to check it out. I've never been, but
Yeah, you should, you should.
yeah.
Well, India, people have a lot of ideas about India, but right now I'm in the south, so you would say like India is a real continent, right? It would be like the US or like Canada. So from one part to the other, it's really different. And now I'm in the south, and I really like it. It's really kind of, in a way, untouched by either British colonization or by the conflict they have with the neighboring countries. So it's really like chill and a lot of nature. And yeah, so obviously people, they're not used to seeing black people here. But other than that, but they're very cool. Like they will look at you and they will smile and they will wave. And you'll be like, what's wrong with you? You people black too. What are you looking at me for?
That's
But I
crazy.
suppose it's kind of a different of black for them. Whatever.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to hold you up, so let's get started. Thank you
Let's do
everybody
it.
for tuning
Yes. Hi
in.
everyone.
Today we have with me Maha. Maha is my first interviewee who actually does not have MG, so this is going to be completely different. So we'll all get to learn a lot about her story and her journey. So her interview is actually live on the blog today. I put it up, and I forgot to send you the link to it, but I'll send you the link so that you can send it out if you want to your family and friends.
I would love to. Thank you.
Yeah, so let's get started. Let's see. So you first said that you were diagnosed at 28, which is kind of like the same age around the same age that I was when I was first diagnosed. So what were you feeling, or how did you start noticing symptoms that led you up to your diagnosis?
So at the time I was living in Brussels. I used to be a political journalist, specialized in the geopolitics and geostrategy of the European Union. So I would travel a lot, right, across Europe, across the world, from one plane to one hotel room to one train, and everywhere with AC or whatever. So I will always have this running nose and a little bit of a cough. But I will think, like, you know, with my lifestyle and with the country I live in, because Brussels, well, it's Belgium, so it's raining all the time and it's a very humid environment. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was that, like I was tired and blah, blah. Like I feel for a lot of chronic illnesses. At first, it's not like one day it's boom and you feel like something is wrong. It creeps out on you.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, whatever. And I went to see a doctor about 3 months in. Like this time I felt it was a bit different because I was also very tired, and the doctor was like, yeah, you have a persistent cold and perhaps a little bit of allergy too. It was summertime. So I was like, okay, cool, no worries. I took the meds for a month. It was a 1 month treatment. And then after the month, I just kind of felt really, really, really bad. So I went to another doctor, that was close to where I was summering. And she told me the same thing. So I took the meds. Then I went back to Brussels and went back to my life. Although after the second month of treatment, I was feeling bad again. Mm-hmm. But I was like, you know, I don't have time for that. I worked really hard to get where I am. So I'm going to suck it up and I'm going to go to work. I love my job. I love the life I've built here, and I worked so hard for it. So, you know, I kind of decided not to make it a big thing.
Right.
Until one fine morning, I could not get out of bed.
Ooh.
Yeah, I went to bed tired, yes, but like any other night. And then the next morning, I couldn't get out of bed. So I was really scared. I didn't know what was happening. Like my whole body, nothing was responding. I was just laying down on my mat with my eyes open and with 1,000 thoughts going through my mind. And I was like, what? And thank God 2 hours later, I could move, and painfully I went to the toilet because, yeah, it's morning. You want to pee, right? It's the first thing you do. I was so desperate. I was going to just do it right there and then I don't know, with the help of the universe or whatever, I finally got the strength and courage to get out of bed and to get to the toilets. And then I kind of passed out. I woke up, I called a friend, asked her if she had a good doctor, because the first 2 months is not that they weren't good. So now we're 6 months after the first consult. It's just that I suppose with a lot of chronic illnesses, at first the signals are so faint that you can't really say it's something that is going to be a real problem down the line, right?
Right.
So she told me, yeah, my doctor is great. I went to see him. It was like an hour and a half. It was on the other side of the border. So you have Belgium, and on the other side of the border, you have France. So I crossed the border. I went to see him, and the guy, he started asking me questions. Do you feel like this? Have you lost weight? Is this blah, blah, blah? Is this blah, blah, blah? And at every answer, I answered yes. And the guy become more and more white. Like he lives in the north of France, so people don't have a lot of color there. But the guy went like, as white as a sheet. And he was like, okay, you know what? You're going to spend the weekend. It was a Friday. At your friend's place, and I'm going to put a rush on this, and that test. And right now I'm calling. So he called. I'm calling so you can have an appointment to get X-rays and a CT scan or something. So we did that, and on the Monday I went back to see him, and he was like, lady, when I first saw you, I thought you only had 6 months to live. But I'm very happy to see, well, not very happy, but he told me, so right now you have pneumonia on both of your lungs. So this is bad. I'm going to quarantine you. But the good news is that it's not, like he had a whole kind of symptoms in his head, from cancer to whatever, another type of rare disease that you don't really get better from. And then he was like, yeah, okay. So here's the treatment for now, but I do believe that there's something that these are just symptoms, that the underlying condition is something else. So let's start with the pneumonia and give your body the rest it needs, but you're going to go back home and no one visits you because your immune system is corrupted at a level I've never seen before. So you stay home for now, and if you don't improve, perhaps we'll consider getting you in a sterile room in hospital. Because when you have autoimmune disease, it's better for you to be home rather than at hospital, because there are less, well, supposedly less germs and bacteria at your home than in a hospital where people go to get better, right? So we did that. It did not really work the first 2 weeks. It was horrible. So then he put me on a like even stronger regimen of antibiotics, and then I started to make progress, but because it was another disease and it wasn't not pneumonia, we could only get real progress when I got diagnosed another 4 or 6 weeks later of sarcoidosis.
Okay.
So what is sarcoidosis, you ask?
That's what I was about to ask. Well, actually, so I'm kind of familiar with sarcoidosis. My mom and my grandma both have it, but you can explain it for a few of our guests who don't know what it is.
So, well, like you said, your mom and your grandma have it. So basically, it's a disease that affects most Black women at the end of their 20s, early 30s. So I was right on time for that one. And it's a multisystemic disease. So usually it starts with your lungs, but it can affect every part of your body. And in my case, it did. Like I had, so you have granulomas, which are white cells that stick together in your body, and then they go and they party wherever they want in your body. So I had them in my stomach, I had them in my guts, obviously in my lungs, also in my neck, but thank God, so far, not in my heart and not in my brains, because that's also places where the disease likes to party. So yeah, now it's been, so I was diagnosed in 2012, but I think I had it like for a year before that. So let's say it's been almost 9 years I've been living with this illness. And the thing is that, like a lot of chronic illnesses, it's just like you feel like you have a permanent cold. At some point, your body is so tired of attacking itself that you start developing other illnesses. And in my case, I developed also fibromyalgia. So fibromyalgia is when you have when your body aches everywhere, but so much so that even sitting is complicated, even lying down on your bed hurts. So you don't know what to do with your body, and it's really maddening. So you're extremely tired and your body aches all over, and everything from the clothes you're wearing to the mat you're lying on, everything hurts, like breathing hurts. So yeah. It's unfortunately a chronic illness where the death rate is going up and everywhere in the world, but especially in the US, from what I read. And yeah, it's kind of maddening. And if you don't die from it, a lot of people, in the end, they just decide to take their own life because it's just too much. It's just too much. But thankfully, I live in France. Yeah. Well, thankfully, I moved back to France at some point. I decided that I needed to make my health my priority. Without that, you can't do anything. You can't sleep. You can't eat. you're just feeling like shit, and the only answer doctors have for you, although they are like really good doctors and specialized in your disease, the only thing they can offer for now is prednisone. And you take that, but then after that you have to go to other meds that are even stronger and with side effects on your body that are just as devastating as the illness itself.
Yeah.
So at some point I decided that I was going to, so obviously with prednisone, you start to change your lifestyle too. So at some point you take out sugary things, salt from your diet. I had the lifestyle of an international journalist. So basically my diet was whatever takeout menu I had at home, whatever hotel food I could find. And I loved my scrambled eggs and my sausages and my bacon, right? And coffee. That would be my only meal of the day, breakfast. But, and then lots of cigarettes and lots of vodka tonics. So yeah, changed that. Stopped smoking, obviously. I diminished alcohol a lot. And I started cooking when I never cooked a day in my life before that. And in fact, I started cooking only last year when I could regain some type of energy, because at the beginning I couldn't even talk. I couldn't even shower. I couldn't even get out of bed. It was a miracle for me to be able to get to the doctors in France that weekend. After that, I just crashed down. Like, it was hard. It was hard. But thankfully now, well, like I said, I'm in India. I'm doing this intensive traditional hatha yoga training, which is hard. Like, this is not a retreat, people. This is not a retreat. But I'm trying to build up trust again with my body. So for me to trust it and for it to trust me, because I think that also the message, you know, when you get an autoimmune disease, you get angry, and obviously it's not your fault, right? But I think that on some level, it's also your body telling you there are a lot of stuff that were going on in your life or on your mind that you didn't, take the time to deal with. And now I'm the one paying the price for it. So I think that is kind of a relationship that goes both ways. So my body and I are here trying to reconnect, I suppose.
Wow. So you touched on a lot of things that I want to kind of like expound on. The first thing was, you said you were originally in Brussels, so you moved from Brussels to India or to Paris.
No, I moved from Brussels to France. I moved back to France. I used to live in Paris, but I wasn't going to go back to Paris, so I went back to the south of France, where there is sun all year long, and with temperatures that are better fit for me, because too hot or too cold now are just two extremes that I can't deal with. My body can't deal with that. So I moved back to France in order to make my health my priority, because as long as I was in Brussels, my priority really was my job. I would tell myself that no, my health is my priority. So I would work half of the month, and the other half I would take care of myself, stay home, etc. But more like crash down in my bed for 2 weeks. And then I was like, yeah, this is not going to be my life. I know that I worked very hard to get there, but what good is it going to be if I die from it? So I decided to stop my job that I loved very much and leave behind. Well, I didn't leave them behind. I still see them and they visit me and I visit them. But the friends I met there, who really became, when you're an expat, your friends became your family. So it's kind of complicated. But yeah, I decided that really my health needed to be my priority. So I moved back to France. And in France, the healthcare system is organized in such a way that in all university hospitals, you will have, because sarcoidosis is considered as a rare disease, rare autoimmune disease. So in all university hospitals in France, you will have a unit that is specialized in a particular rare disease. My specialty, so it's in the north of France. I was really lucky for that. So I will travel back there 2 or 3 times a year to get checked out. But yeah, it was better for me to be in my own healthcare system and have them take care of me.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Were you nervous about, I guess, just traveling and not having consistent care? I'm not sure how the healthcare center, I know in other places they have like universal health care that's kind of better than what we have here in the US. So over there, you guys.
Girl, there's nothing worse than what you have in the US. Even in certain African countries, it's better than what's happening in the US.
Yeah,
and you're like, wow.
And I know for a lot of fibro patients, like over here, we have the opioid crisis. So they're really strict on like delivering like pain relief medications and stuff. Is that happening over there? Are they're more lax and they're going to give you what you need?
Well, so we have what we call pain management centers in university hospitals. And yeah, absolutely, they will definitely try and help you. I know that I was prescribed opioids, but as a journalist, I read all, everything they put on the notice, and I was like, ooh, yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
But still, I was so desperate that I took half a tablet, and girl, I slept for 48 hours, and I was dizzy for another 3 days after that. So I was like, yeah, no, this is not going to work. So I did not take those meds, and they were like, because I was on a level of pain that was excruciating, that I wasn't going to become addicted to this medication, and I wasn't going to slip through my life. So I decided that that wasn't the answer for me. And that's when I started yoga, in fact. So I started hot yoga. Because supposedly hot yoga, it's easier for your body. So if you can take the heat, obviously it's easier on your body. For me, the heat wasn't the problem, as I would feel cold in my bones. Well, your mother and grandmother, they go through that. So perhaps they told you about that. Like you feel like, yeah, cold in your bones. So being in a room that was hot and, dry hot. So it's not like humid, type of hot. I was like, yeah, I love this room. I could live here. But then you have to do the yoga, right?
Yeah.
And so I will at the beginning go twice a week, spend most of the time like sitting on my mat. Then I will go 3 times a week, then 4 times a week. So that's across 8 years, right? It's not like every week I will go an extra day. It's across 8 years. Until one fine day I woke up and I felt like, okay, I'm able to relax a little bit, like relax my brain and breathe deeper, and it's not hurting. Well, it's still hurting, but it's not hurting that much. So I was like, okay, so that's better. And then I felt like I also needed to see someone. So to have the mental health to go through that. So I also went and sought out a psychologist who specialized in a technique that is called the journey. Okay. That originated in the US, in fact. And it's about dealing with emotional blockages that you can feel at cellular level in your body, and some type of pain. In fact, they are more related to emotional blockages than actual physical pain. As physical pain, most of the time, unless like you slam the door on your hand, but most of the time, physical pain is when really you haven't dealt with emotional pain either. So I decided to do that. The psychologist, she was really surprised, because at first people try to be a little bit like, they don't want to open up, and I was like, no, girl, I'm paying you. I want to get better. So we're going to deal with that shit. Let's go. Let's do it. So I suppose for me, it was quite, not easy now. It was really painful, but in a way, it took me 10 months to be able to live with the pain at a level that was a little bit more bearable than what it was at the beginning. So yeah, I did all of these things. It took time, definitely. It took a lot of money. So thank God the other type of bills, like traditional healthcare system related, are taken up by the state, so they take care of that. Like when you have a chronic illness in France, be it diabetes, or in my case a rare disease, or even cancer, the state is going to foot the bill for you. So you don't have to pay anything that is related, not the meds, not the doctor's appointments, not the CT scans, not the X-ray, that have to do with your illness.
You trying to make me move to France?
Everyone should be living in France. Yeah, definitely. So as I couldn't work all the time, that really helped me. Mm-hmm. And that's how I was able to take up hot yoga and do this therapy session, because that you have to pay for yourself. So and it's a little bit expensive.
So do you work now, or you are still kind
of? Yeah. So when I moved back to France 2.5 years ago, first I decided to go back to university, and I did this double master's in public health and health psychology. Then I worked as a research engineer at the med school of the town where I'm living. And now I am kind of taking time off from that job. So I had it for 18 months. I'm taking time off from that job in order to try and reach the next level when it comes to my physical health. Okay. So I'm here in India, it's not a retreat, it's definitely not a retreat. But I'm trying to really try and push the boundaries, the physical boundaries that I still have, that were thrust upon me by the illness.
Right.
In order to either be able to go back to my job as a journalist, or do something else. I don't know. All I know is that first I need to take care of that, and then I will be able to think about what comes next.
Well, that's awesome. And then I kind of have one more question from your interview. You mentioned mourning like your old life, basically. So yeah. What did that process look like for you? I know you talked about the journey technique. And I know you said that it was a lot of emotional trauma, but what was it that you, besides leaving like the job that you loved, what was it that really you had to give up in order to get to where you are today?
I had to give up my old life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to give up my job, my apartment, my financial freedom, my friends. Like, yeah, it was hard. But it's a decision I made I would say within the time when I decided to do it. Then 6 months later, I left Brussels. But it took me about 5 years before taking this decision. So yeah, the price of where I am today was definitely my old life. Sorry, I get a little bit emotional still talking about it. But yeah, I went through all those stages of grief. So when we talk about that, people think it's about when you've lost someone, but really in the scientific literature, when you see what so her name was Kubler-Ross, what she's talking about is people when they are at the end of their lives. So when they are in palliative care, and how do they process mourning their own death and mourning themselves. So I went through all the stages. I had anger, definitely. I had bargaining. For me, bargaining was more like when when the internist, the professor who's an internist who's taking care of me, would tell me, you need to quit your job. You need to take care of yourself. This is extremely serious. I've never seen a case as severe as yours in my whole career, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, but what job is not stressful, which life is not stressful, blah, blah, blah. And now only I understand what he meant by that. In fact, he meant, yeah, sweetie, you need to quit your job and you need to do something else with your life, because otherwise you're going to die, right? So for me, bargaining was like, no, but I can do it. I can blah, blah, blah. So I would tell him that. I went through depression. Oh, girl, I went through depression like I never knew it could exist. Like, what am I doing on this earth? What is my life? Why am I still, fighting this thing? Is this like, you have a lot of people who die of sarcoidosis, but in the end, they decide to take their own lives, right? So, yeah, I went through depression. Basically, I went through all the stages, and at some point, I kind of reached acceptance. And that's when I was like, okay, so now your health needs to be your priority. If you don't want to die by the time you're 40, so let's do this thing. What do you have to do in order to get better? And the answer was, quote unquote, quite simple. I needed to leave Belgium, and I really needed to put my actions where I was putting my money, literally. So yeah, it cost me my old life. Absolutely. I don't regret it. Now, I gotta say, I feel perhaps a little bit lost as to what is my purpose in life, as I've been a journalist since I was 7 years old. I didn't even know it was a job. Like, I started this magazine with my girlfriends when I was 7. I had my first radio show when I was 9. So it was, I always loved reading. It was a show on which I would talk about, like the last book I read and the one I would recommend, people my age. And it's only years later I realized, in fact, it was a job. So, yeah, it cost me that. It cost me what has been my purpose since I was 7 years old. And now, hopefully, the universe, God, whatever, will, I hope, bring me back on that path, or I will bring myself back on that path. But for now, I decided that I needed to be alive to do anything I wanted to do. So, yeah, cost me my old life. It was hard. I'm not gonna lie. And I don't have responsibilities like kids or husband. So in a way, it was easier, I would say, for me than other people who don't have that type of freedom in their lives. But I would say my advice is, what is the biggest hurdle for you? What is the thing that really prevents you from getting where you want to get health-wise? And then do the work and get rid of it. Get rid of that thing. If it's going to take time. It took me 5 years to realize that I needed to do that. 5 years into the illness. And during those 5 years, I never went into remission, but at some point I felt better, although it was fake because it was cortisone. But, and then I will have like big lows. And then at some point I was sick of that. So I decided to change my whole lifestyle, food, what I was drinking, what I was thinking, the people I was associated with. And that really, really, really helped me. So yeah, my whole life.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. I know. I'm pretty intense.
It is a lot. Well, I know you have to get ready for your not retreat.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions really quickly before we let her go and get her meditation and yoga on and I get back in bed? Let's see.
Well, maybe later if they have questions. I mean.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think anybody asked any questions while we were talking.
Yeah, like I said, it's a lot to process.
It is. Well, I just really appreciate you coming and sharing your story with us and waking up super early.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Early. And I know you mentioned to me before that you were going to start a food blog. So I'm still looking out for that because...
Yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of now that well, I suppose when we have a chronic illness, the biggest questions we have are, is what I'm doing helping me, or is it working against me? And when it's working for me, what do I want to do with that newfound energy? So far, I decided with the energy I have, I still need to focus on me and on my recovery. And I started to travel again because travel has always been something I like. So yeah, so in fact, technically the website is online. It's just that I have to write down the recipes and things. And sometimes I just don't have the energy for that. Like I would have the energy to go to my yoga class, but then when I come back, I'm not at the level where I could go to work, then yoga, then come back home, and then take care of my blog. It's not, I'm not there yet, which is why I'm very, very appreciative of your blog and of all the efforts and time you take to do that. Because I know it is a lot, girl. Like, wow, every time. And I read every post you publish. And every time I'm like, what? This is awesome, because first of all, you're so truthful and so honest and so raw and so courageous in what you share. And plus, it's not just like 1 or 2 paragraphs, right? It's a whole thing. So I'm kind of, wow, this is amazing. I'm not at that level now, but hopefully when I have the strength to do that, I will try and do it. Yeah, definitely. But I'm trying more and more to post the recipes on my blog posts on Instagram.
Okay.
So I don't have yet the energy to have like Instagram and the blog at the same time.
It is a lot. I will agree. It definitely is a lot. Some days I'm like, yeah, I'm just not going to post this week because I can't.
Right? Yeah, it's a lot to share and to write those things, and to take the time also to sit with yourself and to process your emotion and then to share them with the world. So kudos to you, really. I really, really appreciate what you're doing. I think I saw a question. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, do you still struggle with the illness? Oh, yeah. Every hour of every day. But I would say that now I struggle a little bit less, in the sense that what drives me is this helping me, or is this going to be a problem for my health? And now I can identify those things more easily, let's say. So I still struggle, obviously, but I kind of, it's easier for me to identify what will become a problem and what will not be a problem. Like, let's say, winter and the flu, or coronavirus, or things like that.
Yeah.
So.
And you're talking, have you guys had any cases there, or?
In France, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in France, definitely. There are less cases here in India than there are in France. In France, I think we're up to 30 cases. So I'm really, really glad also I got the hell out of there.
Yeah, it's terrifying when you have autoimmune disease and like, people get away from me, sick people. Like I can't.
Exactly, right?
Like, please leave me alone.
I have a type of sheets I make with essential oils. The recipe also is on my Instagram, and I used to ship people every time they will come to my door, like. Or when I would get on the metro, like. And people look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. So.
Yeah.
You're good. And I bought a mask, definitely bought a mask.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
3 chains. I am still struggling with the illness. Very much so. I think that's everyone with a chronic illness, whether we are in. So I still have days where I can get out of bed. Like today, I just can't. Although my diet is on point, what I'm thinking is on point, what I'm doing is on point. But sometimes, your body or the illness just wins the battle. As long as I win the war, I am good.
And we will.
We will. Absolutely. We will prevail. This is our home. Our body is our home. So we'll take care of that.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for having me, Morgan.
Thank you. And enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good day.
Thank you. I will try my best.
See ya.
See you soon, girl. Bye.
All right, guys. So that was Maha. If you missed the beginning, she has sarcoidosis and fibromyalgia, blah. And she definitely had an interesting story. Lucky for her, she has universal health care and can get a lot of her stuff paid for. We have a lot of growing to do in our health system to get there, but yeah, the Spoonie struggle is real. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will hopefully be able to upload this to YouTube if it's saved, and it'll still be available on on the feed for the next 24 hours or what have you. Yeah, she was mad transparent. I think it's interesting that like, even though so many chronic illnesses are different in their symptoms, one thing that they all have in common is like the level of fatigue that you constantly feel. Like, you always feel like you have like a cold or the flu or something, but you don't feel like sick. You just feel sick, if that's even a comprehensible thing to say. But as always, thanks again for tuning in, you guys. I'll see you guys next month in March, whenever the third Wednesday in March. I'm trying to get a schedule, so whatever the third Wednesday of the month is, I'm going to try to do these if I can get some more interviewees. I got some feelers out there, so who knows what we'll get next. And I will see you guys later.